Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching GEEKCASTER, everything sci-fi, fantasy, and geek culture, pop culture commentary. I'm Seven, we have Drew, and we have Corey. How you guys doing?
Good.
So,
Chilling.
we spoke about what if, and kind of inspired a little bit about that what if series that Marvel Studios did. I thought which was really cool. I also thought it's a nice sneaky way to see if they can pull off, side movies. Just say, oh, people like that one. Maybe we should do this. Maybe we should do that. And our version was a little different. The show that we did, we talked about, well, what if we took the best elements of all the people that we seen play Superman and put that together and make that the new Superman film, or a bunch of elements from Spider-Man. So I don't know, guys, pick a character, whether it's Marvel, DC, or maybe even outside of that, the box of those two, and let's talk about different performances and how we can make the ultimate superhero based on what they put in film.
I mean, we have to pick one first, I guess.
Yes, let's pick one first.
Uh, Superman, I guess, would be a good place to start, just because there's
Okay.
been enough iterations of him by now
Right.
to where, despite I'm not like the biggest Superman guy, I've never found him terribly interesting as a character.
Okay.
But there are cool things that you can do with the character.
Okay.
Different takes on them. Again, if I start to repeat myself, I know we went this route on another show,
Right.
but like if we took Christopher Reeve's look, or no, sorry, Christopher Reeve's acting chops, because he was kind of the first guy that did it. His Superman was kind of the guy that set that smiling Boy Scout thing into live action. The archetype starts with him, right?
Okay.
So you'd have his kind of charisma. I would say like the look of Brandon Routh from that terrible Superman Lifts movie that Bryan Singer did.
Oh wow.
Remember that one? It was a
Yeah.
boring movie because Bryan Singer's a boring filmmaker and a boring storyteller. But like the look that he brought for that one, he looked like Superman.
Okay.
Brandon Routh like dressed up as a Superman in the costume. He looks the part. So I would say
Okay.
his looks, Christopher Reeve's charisma, the action sequences that you had with Snyder's Man of Steel and the DC stuff, because that was just
Okay.
he's destroying so much. Superman wouldn't do that. I'm like, dude, it's a crisis. What is he supposed to do?
Right.
Come on, man. So that over the top, almost Dragon Ball level of destruction that you had in the Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And what else? I'd say like maybe the writing, from like a writing standpoint. Get the animation team, get the team that wrote the Superman, the Bruce Timm, all those guys that worked on that stuff. Get them to do the writing. They know the characters.
Right.
Y'all are swinging blind out here with a lot of these takes on Superman, and it won't be good.
No.
Get the people to write the character in a way to where you know that you're getting, a true take of fidelity to the character.
We've been doing this show for a couple of years, and that has not changed. Every time we have a complaint, we're like, why doesn't DC just get the animation team to write the live action of the super? Like, it doesn't, or just
Whatever
redo it.
corporate red tape, whatever never the two shall mix, don't cross the streams rule that they have over at Warner Brothers. It's like, okay,
Don't cross-
okay, we'll see.
Right.
That's the idea, man. It's like we
Right.
can't have the two tribes mix. We just can't but that's where the good stuff. They got good stuff. You got good stuff. Combine the two good stuff, and that's how you make ultimate thing.
Right. No.
I just-
100%.
But nah.
I have a different avenue I would take.
Mhm.
So I would take the suit from Man of Steel,
Mhm.
Christopher Nolan and Zack Snyder from Man of Steel. I would take, what was the Smallville character who
That's
finished the series
Welling.
but never put on? Was
Oh,
it Tom Welling?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tom Welling.
Mhm.
I would take his look, mix his acting chops with Christopher Reeve, and the writing from. That's the one thing I'm trying to figure out, the writing, because you guys say the animation character, but I felt as though there were some movies that were decent, but which movie would you want the writers to produce a new Superman movie with?
My mind quickly goes to the animation. In fact, I agree with everything you said. I thought that was super interesting. At the end of the day, hands down, Christopher Reeve became the template, the standard of. I mean, he kind of wiped away. Even if you go back to like black and white television, black and white films, Christopher Reeve kind of like washed that all away with his performance and that duality of Superman versus Clark Kent.
Well, they were saying Tom Welling did a great Clark Kent and Superman. He's the only one that was the pretty much probably the best Superman to not wear the cape.
That's it. There you go. Because I was about to say he's a Superman that went his entire series without even wearing his own costume. So his Clark Kent is better than his Superman. They even cheat because I dipped off of Smallville like by season 4 or 5.
Okay.
It shouldn't have gone more than 4 or 5 seasons. It should have ended with him graduating high school.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes on to where he's fighting Doomsday in Metropolis like in season 9 or like 8 or whatever. Way later. I'm like, he doesn't wear the suit. But his like in the early seasons, his Clark Kent is pretty good. Just particularly with him discovering his powers and stuff, like that phase of his life, that awkward teenage phase where he's in the locker rooms and he's looking to the other side and he sees the girls are changing. He's like, oh, that was fun.
But I feel like it would have been the same argument with Batman. It's easy to be Batman. It's hard to be Clark Kent. So to see Tom Welling put on the suit, and I feel like, no, I think it was contractual because if he did put the suit on in the show, I think he was obligated to do like 2 or 3 movies or something like that, and he didn't want to lock himself in, and so he didn't put on the suit.
They did, yeah. They ended up not using the suit. It was a contractual thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if he would have had to do movies, but it was the idea that look, we don't want to see him in the suit.
Yeah, he had to do movies.
Yeah, the way I heard it is because they were still planning on doing the movies with a different actor, and that's why they didn't want to again cross the streams and confuse people.
Right.
Thinking that Smallville and the films were the same thing, even though it's the same character. Right. But yeah,
maybe that's why it did well because they actually just focused on that, and as an actor, and then the writers, they focused on this transition. They focused on discovering, his powers. I feel that like because they had that hyper focus, that's why it did well. I think when people are writing these superhero movies, they focus on the cape and the explosions and all that so much they forget that that's not what makes him amazing. He's an alien that wears the costume of being a normal person. I think they forget that. They think in their mind they think it's a normal person dressing up as a costume or outfit, a uniform to be a superhero, and that's not what Superman is. He's the opposite.
Yeah, in the case of Smallville, because again they had certain rules and constraints that kind of put them in an interesting spot as a creative team.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't have him be in the suit and tights every episode. It wasn't
right.
the other. What's the other 90s Superman show? Where he was in the suit every episode.
Something.
Lois.
Lois and Clark.
Yeah, Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark. That was him. Man, forget that one.
We saw like 2 episodes and it was done.
It was. Yeah, I know people that like that show. I don't care, but it was that show. He's in the costume every episode. And you can kind of have that as be like the shtick of the show. Smallville didn't have that. So what they did early on in those early seasons, it was almost like a Monster of the Week formula type of thing. It was an episodic thing where because the meteor shower, right, they got Clark on Earth, there was a kryptonite meteor shower on Smallville. Pieces of kryptonite end up in different places. Its radiation affects with the reacts with the environment in different ways. So you had people who would pop up with abilities. You had these different trials and things that would show up that are kryptonite based for Clark to go through as a teenager. So you had an interesting little like minefield of things that you could do with his plot and his stories and stuff.
So now I'm thinking, what if your idea of having the animation team write a full-fledged live-action movie, what if it doesn't work? Because we have seen a couple of TV shows that tried to make it anime-esque. Like they tried to write it as if it were an animated episode, but it's live action, and that never works. So what if the opposite is also true, that it wouldn't work to have animated writers try to make a live action version of a movie that really
You
should
would
have been
okay.
animated?
You could do it one of two ways. If the medium is so different, if what you give them, because you'll tell them early on, yo, this is going to be a live action series, so keep that in mind. Do your thing with you do that you do with the animation, but just keep in mind this will be for a live medium. If it's so different when you read it back that it's like this is incomprehensible, this won't work somehow, then you just go the route of either making it a movie, an hour and a half, 2 hour movie, and then chopping out the chaff, whatever parts that wouldn't work in the animated form, or you bypass it entirely and just go the Invincible route. It'll be an animated adult series, an animated series for Superman that follows this particular arc, this particular run of a comic, 12 however many episodes, and then you just go from there.
Yeah, I think Superman does work better animated, because we were talking about Red Sun. If Red Sun were live action, I don't think it would do well, because they kind of did try it with what was it, Blackburn, tried to make an evil Superman. Like the premise is there, but the execution was terrible. It would have been better if they animated it.
Yeah, I think that is just who's writing and who's directing that. I mean, actually, more heavy who's writing it. You know, you really got to jump in.
Brightburn, yeah.
Go ahead. We were saying, Drew?
Oh, no. I was just going to say, Brightburn just suffered from a lack of cooking. You needed to focus on... The main premise is fine. I actually kind of love the premise of Brightburn because it's more realistic Superman. If you had an alien kid born in a little podunk, backwoods, Midwest town, he's probably not going to grow up to be the best person on Earth.
Right.
I'm sorry, America. That's just not going to happen.
Right.
Apple pie, American values. No, he'd probably be a fiend. But that aside... Brightburn, it needed to be a little longer and focus on his slip from humanity into sociopathy.
It needed to be more than one movie.
And maybe maybe more than one movie. Well, they kind of were teasing at the end of the first Brightburn, but...
Yeah, and we never got it.
That wasn't the movie's fault. It's the idea of showing that slip of that loss of his humanity, and when he goes from Clark Kent to the Tyrant. That's what you need to showcase with the Brightburn movie.
Right. I can see that.
They all called me freaks. I'll show them. He needs to have that as a kid.
Right.
We kind of got that in Red Sun.
I think, just a perspective, yeah, because, I mean, if he landed in the Caribbean...
Superman.
Superman.
You know, it would be totally different. What wrong with you?
That'd be a way different dude. Yeah, that'd be a way different dude.
Totally different. And if we had this concoction, right, and whatever we say becomes, this is the new Superman, would we add Superdog? Or no, we would leave that alone?
Leave it alone?
Leave it alone. At least until, unless you can explain early on how the Superdog gets there, leave it be. It's already enough that we got like one alien that has all the powers landing on Earth.
Right.
And it's this whole will he be a god or will he be a devil type of thing. But then his dog came along too is a bit much.
I would rather we get a sensible Supergirl over than Superdog.
Yeah, I would say do a Superman thing first, then pitch in the idea, oh wait, his cousin was here too. Then there was the dog. Yeah.
The cousin makes more sense. You could explain. You could explain the cousin. You know. It kind of makes more sense.
As much suspension of disbelief that we have for an alien flying the unknown light years to land on our planet of all places in the universe, all right, sure. And he had a cousin too. It works. All right. The dog. Oh, okay. Now you're pulling it, but okay.
Right. You're doing yeah.
Now,
do we have
Batman though?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm about to say with the again, to have a great hero, you need a great villain. I don't think we've seen a live action Lex Luthor that lived up to who Lex Luthor is yet. But I haven't really seen a really good Lex Luthor yet.
A complete Lex Luthor, no. Live action, not yet.
Not yet.
Animated one, yeah. We've seen some good takes on Lex, I would say, so
Right.
far. There's some good takes on Lex in the books that they could dip from. And again, we're sticking on the DC stuff, but just a
Right.
quick throw in. If we're going to take the ultimate version of a character for Batman, that's arguably a more difficult one, but I would definitely throw in, like, the writing from the animated series of Batman. But if you did the live action, I would want them to do the 1940 style Art Deco, you know, what they use in the animated series. I'd want it to be like that. Make it look like the 1940s. It's more of a period piece than anything else. And then do live action Batman. Who's a good one? His voice is always going to be Kevin Conroy, because that's me. Maybe Pattinson. A younger Batman in the 1940 style version of, you know, Batman the Animated Series.
Interesting.
It's a wild one, I know.
I would have gone with Batman Beyond. Like, have an
Batman
old,
Beyond,
disgruntled Michael Keaton as the old, washed up, tired of this Batman, and have a younger, I don't know who would play the younger, you know what, I'll actually go with Damon Idris as the younger Batman.
Who is he again?
He's been in a lot of things. Snowfall. He was in Black Mirror. If you see a picture of him, you know who he is.
Okay, I'll look him up. But yeah, I think Michael Keaton, they brought him back for that Flash movie to be old Mad Batman. I didn't think it worked in that one, but in a dedicated Batman Beyond joint, that could be cool. That could be pretty cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, where do we want to? Well, maybe that might be another thing, but where do we want to see Batman that we have not seen him? And you know, I do want to watch more of the old black and white. I have a pickup now, like one of the old black and white outfits of Batman and different people. And you know, George Clooney didn't do that bad of a job. I think they didn't give him the right script.
Yeah, that was horrible.
That was horrible. To be fair.
And we don't talk about his batsuit.
No, we don't. Poor thing.
Why was that included? No one knows.
What did you guys think of Ben Affleck's Batman? Was it as bad as people? Because before, when they cast it, people were like, no, this is terrible. But then it was quiet after that. Did we lose? You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. I think we just lost Drew for a second. But yeah, do you feel that what was your take? Bottom line, like, did you think Ben Affleck did a good job?
No, I think he was the worst Batman we had.
Oh wow. Okay.
I would dare say Robert Pattinson was a way better Batman than Ben Affleck.
Wow. That's huge.
I wonder what Drew's going to say about my hot take.
I know. I'm curious as well.
Okay, yo.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I don't know if I lost connection or I lost my Wi-Fi or what. I had to reset just now.
No problem. So, breaking news. Corey, say your hot take.
So Seven said, he asked the question, Ben Affleck, was he good? Was the writing terrible because people didn't take to him? What are our thoughts on Ben Affleck being Batman? And I said, I dare say Robert Pattinson was a way better Batman than Ben Affleck because he was the worst Batman that we've had.
No.
Who's worse than Ben Affleck?
You're going to look at me and say that George Clooney was a good Batman? He was a better Batman than Ben Affleck?
As far as playing the duality, yeah. Like we were saying, what killed George Clooney was the writing and the suit. The writing and the suit.
You said what?
No,
he wasn't terrible.
George Clooney is Bruce Wayne out of the suit. He's Bruce Wayne in the suit. He's so much Bruce Wayne in the suit, he pulls out a Bat credit card, talking about I never leave the cave without it. I'm going to ask you again, Corey. George Clooney was a better Batman than Robert Pattinson and Ben Affleck?
I don't remember the credit card scene. Now I got to go back. If that,
if that's you want to know why, you must have you burnt that out of your retinas because it was such a terrible, corny, stupid Adam West dig that it's like he's the worst. Somehow Adam West came away a cooler Batman than George Clooney based off of that performance. So nah.
Yeah, well, you know
what? Robert Pattinson
killed him.
They tried so hard to make a kids movie and sell toys, and that's what really killed it for him. Like, Tim Burton wanted something totally different. Like, he wanted to go darker.
Tim Burton was trying to do Tim Burton stuff to the Batman and ended up making it darker. We liked it, so we kept it.
Right.
George Clooney did so much damage that it's like they spent years not making Batman stuff because it's like we don't want to repeat.
Right.
The only time that we can do this again is if Nolan touches it, and then he's got to make it exponentially grittier to make up for what the damage Batman and Robin did to the franchise.
Right.
Yeah, but the thing that harmed George Clooney was definitely the writing. The writing was trying to do way too much. They focused more on star power and like the shots more so than the story of Batman because they thought it would sell itself. So if you gave George Clooney another shot with a better writing team, he would have been decent.
We didn't have the formula for a proper superhero movie at this time.
Yeah, that's true.
They were making superhero movies, but we didn't have a proper formula for how you would make a good origin story in a live action medium. We didn't have the groundwork for the 3-act structure that you see in a superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
You introduce the character, you introduce the villain, you introduce the problem, conflict, then you play out the fun games and then the climax. Superhero movies didn't do that.
My question is, because I did have this conversation before. You remember the Ninja Turtles movies?
Yes.
The first one?
Yeah. Would you count that as a superhero movie?
Yeah. I would.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we did have some examples, not a lot, but they were decent examples of superhero movies by the time we had our George Clooney. It was just, again, they were trying to make blockbuster movies because that was also the age of what's his name, Michael Bay, with everything blowing up and just trying to make things bigger and better. And they tried to do that with Batman, and they didn't pay attention to any of the source material. You can see it. So that's why I'm saying George Clooney didn't have a fair shake or attempt at being Batman.
Also, well, I think George Clooney, because he is a multimillionaire, because he really lived the life of a Bruce Wayne, which is why casting him made a lot of sense. It was brilliant because he is, in a sense, Bruce Wayne. Like, he was the most eligible bachelor that no one could lock down in Hollywood. So for him to play the most eligible bachelor in the DC universe that no one could lock down, but then they didn't allow him to actually be Batman. And I think that, to Drew's point, we realize, as far as formula-wise, we realize that because this is such a fairy tale, it's so fictitious, you gotta... They didn't know how dark they can make it so we could sell it. Like, how adult can we do this? Because in their mind, superhero cartoons and live action is just to sell toys, just to make money and sell toys. And if we get some older folk or parents that'll come check it out, if we get the comic book people to come check it out, fine. So yeah, I mean, we didn't get till Christopher Nolan and definitely Iron Man, Blade. They figured out the formula of this is how far we can go to make it adult, but still be accessible to younger people.
Well, I would say to that, considering that the first two that they made, Batman, the Tim Burton Batman, and then Batman Returns.
They were dark.
And then they weren't, those weren't them selling toys. They did sell toys based off of that, but those movies were not kids' movies.
Right.
Those movies were not freaking kids' movies. It's as they got more popular, they got to Batman Forever, and then they got a little jokey because they had Jim Carrey in it, right? But because, again, they didn't have a framework for writing compelling, interesting villains, everyone in that movie, all the villains act like the Joker.
Yeah.
Down to the goofy laughing and stuff. Two-Face running down a hallway laughing like Joker is
Yeah.
not people that have a grasp of the character,
Right,
right? The Riddler, you could get away with him being jokey, maybe, but it's like he's more the inquisitive thinker,
right,
the snooty, hoity-toity thinker, not Jim Carrey flipping the little staff thing like it's
right,
gymnastics. That was them playing it up for the Hollywood aspect of it.
right.
I
Again,
enjoyed Jim Carrey. It made sense at the time.
at the time, yeah, because he was in everything. It was Jim Carrey. We loved him, but
We
it's the
love
idea
him,
that
right.
is it. So yeah, it's star power. You guys are saying it was star power. That was fueling the character, not writing the good characters, not giving them
Correct.
compelling reasons or backstories for doing what they do. We wouldn't get that until, I'd say, Blade. If we're going back
Blade.
into it, Blade is probably one of the first good examples of when they figured out the formula.
Right. Blade did it.
Like
Definitely different.
and Iron Man for mass audiences. If you want to get like a Hollywood blockbuster, where bring the kids, bring everybody. Iron Man is where they nailed it, and they've been making Iron Man ever since.
They've been making Iron Man ever since.
They were making Iron Man ever since.
To the formula, down to the T. You know, definitely.
And
Same
for me, the
script.
most bare bones, if you wanted to show like a film 101 class, how you do a 3-act structure with a superhero film, I would show them Captain America before anything else. Because that is straight up like, it's not the greatest of the Marvel joints,
Right.
but when it comes to setting up, motivation, all that basic stuff that you need in your superhero stuff, it's all there.
Right.
Maybe Superman with Tobey Maguire, the first one, maybe.
Two things. Notice how we never brought up Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
I was
And
just about
number
to.
two,
That was trash.
We got
So
that
bad.
bar, Corey, and then you drug us back into it. I thought
Yeah.
we ditched it. Dang.
I thought about
we
it.
made
I wasn't
out
going to
without
say
even
it.
mentioning it. I wasn't going to mention it. I'm not even going to bring up Schwarzenegger and that terrible, what killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. Chill, everybody. Chill. I thought we'd made it out, but not, Corey.
Also, to give props, if we're going to give Christopher Reeves props, we got to give Adam West props because he, as an actor, he jumped in, and who knows if he was really into comic books. I mean, especially back in the day, it was just a job as an actor. Oh, we're doing a superhero? Okay, cool, whatever. But I think he had the finesse of a player, a playboy, which we hear that in real life he was wild. But he's a believable.
stayed on set for the women.
Yeah, he's a believable Bruce Wayne. He's a
Y'all are tripping me out with these takes, though. Y'all really think... this is the second time you said that. First time it was George Clooney. He was the most eligible bachelor
No, in real
to play
life.
Bruce Wayne.
In real life, but acting, no. But as far as on
In real life,
screen,
sure, but
Adam West is the
yeah, but that's a very small aspect of Bruce Wayne as a character. The jokey party boy is a complete and utter facade. It's
well, that's
not
the mask,
25%.
right? But
Yes, that's the mask.
That's
So-
the mask. But that's the
Yeah,
thing.
it's the mask.
Bruce
We
Wayne,
know that.
because his real life is being Batman. His mentality is really 24/7 being Batman. Him being the playboy was just so people will never realize that he was Batman.
Yeah, it's an inversion of that. I
Right.
think that where the casting, it's like, oh, he plays this guy in real life. I'm like, that's a very meager part of the actual character. You're fueling 100% of Bruce Wayne can't fuel 100% of
100
Batman.
No, I agree with you.
Does that
as
kinda-
a fan? No, I get it. Oops, I think that is it. Dismiss. Let's see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching GEEKCASTER. We will approach this conversation another time. But this is good. Everything sci-fi, fantasy, and pop culture commentary. The conversation continues.